Welcome or welcome back to Watchadvisor on YouTube, where the watches are the stars, but the star of this video is Guido Terreni, the CEO of Parmigiani. Welcome, Guido.
Welcome, Alex. How are you?
Here is, guys, a very successful man in terms of style, in terms of success, in terms of many things. And I'm not advertising him, but it is true. Especially when we're talking about Parmigiani and the success you are having. Actually, you are the first CEO to earn money with the brand. Sounds weird, but it's true.
We got to this goal last year and we're very pleased. Since I took over, we passed from the worst year ever, that was the 2020, to the best, 2023. Multiplying by 5 the company and being profitable finally. And this is thanks to the Tonda PF that we launched in the first year.
Yeah, but we have to know that the Tonda PF is, of course, Guido Terreni's vision about how a watch should look like and what the watch should define with a gentleman, a man, etc. This is your vision, and I think you're one of the, how shall I say this, to not harm anybody else. I would say you are a superstar. Let's put it this way. No, you are, absolutely.
Don't forget to subscribe and to hit the bell to get our latest notifications.
Guido, tell us some interesting things about Parmigiani.
The brand has been experiencing an exciting 3 years. The Tonda PF has been able to reassess the identity of a brand that was very prestigious, because Michel, the founder, has elevated the perception of this brand when it started as one of the most refined, one of the most cultivated brands, and one of the most understated brands. So the Tonda PF is an interpretation of those values in today's times for a gentleman, which is a connoisseur. So we're not talking to a wide public, we're talking to a public of connoisseurs which are refined, understated, and that who are looking for personal choices. The success was so important that basically today the brand is the Tonda PF. We're not selling anything else than the Tonda PF. This has had a lot of our customers, a lot of our clients that are asking us to do the same activity that we did on the Tonda PF, refreshing the Tonda on the Toric, which was the dress watch with which Michel made the appearance on the world of watchmaking. And I agree, we cannot be a monoproduct brand. Parmigiani is much more than a sport chic collection. And it was the time, after 3 years, to extend the collection to a dress watch. So it's a different emotion that you're looking from a sport elegant watch that is the Tonda PF to a dress watch. So this is what we are showcasing this year, and it's a very important moment for the brand, because it is with a lot of responsibility that we redesign such an important piece in our history. It is a dress watch, and we have to ask ourselves what a dress watch is today. This was a big question to answer.
Whom did you ask?
Ourselves.
Oh, yourself. No, I thought there is a... Maybe you went to Google University and said, what is...
When you observe the industry, and you're looking what a dress watch is, you see a very conservative approach to masculine elegance. This is due to historical reasons. It goes back to 200 years. We dress like this with a suit since the British bourgeoisie and the Industrial Revolution rise. So the suit is a sort of uniform, a civil uniform that we have been dressing for 200 years. Yes, we can have different nuances, different cuts, but at the end, it is the structure. And I'm not talking about fashion here, I'm talking about a societal way of wearing. And what is important, that with the suit, it was also brought in the color black. Because black was the most prestigious color to have, because at those times, black was not able to be fixed on the suits, and after a few washings, it faded to gray. So only the rich could wear black. And then you couple it with a shirt, which is white, because the bourgeoisie is building its wealth, its patrimony, in opposition to the aristocracy that was inheriting its wealth. Here we have a class which is there to stay, to take important decisions that are there to stay. So the consistency is important. That's why you don't change your outfit through 200 years, because you're showing credibility, you're showing stability, in your ideas. And white was a color because only who was doing an intellectual work, taking the decision for the company, was able to wear white. Otherwise, you were in a dusty environment and you couldn't wear white. This is the foundation of the tuxedo, okay? And it is not like today, a tuxedo that you wear when a brand invites you to a gala dinner, black tie event. You wear it 1, 2, 3, I don't know how many times. It was a daily wear. You used to go dinner in that attire. If you're an affluent person, you used to go to theaters. And this was the same until the Second World War. In the first 100 years of this attire, the watch is in the pocket. And the watch is very aristocratic because it's very decorated, but it's hidden because also the bourgeoisie has aspirations to become noble. So you keep a reference to the pre-industrial revolution codes in your pocket. But when in the 20th century the watch exits the pocket to go on the wrist, it has to fit in the outfit of the elegant man. And that's why it becomes very understated, because it's an expression of the Geneva Calvinist culture, because watches come from that culture too. So you adapt to the tuxedo, a white face, a platinum case, maybe a white gold case, a glossy black alligator strap to fit the glossy shoes. This is the aesthetic code that stayed for basically 80 years. After the war, you start to abandoning the tuxedo for a daily life elegant, and you can start wearing gray, blue. You might remember the film American Gigolo, no? Where you had these beautiful outfits that were very elegant, but still a three-piece suit, serious suit. And you might twist to a little bit of brown, a blue dial, but that was the maximum that you could do. Then, like the watch industry had its quartz crisis, the men way of dressing had their own quartz crisis, which was the arrival of the new economy. Silicon Valley, the way that you dress, if you're building a business in the internet, it was not respecting this uniform. So you throw away the suit. You also throw away the watch, because these people were not wearing watches. No, they had their technical devices to tell the time. And there is a casual outwear where you wear sneakers, you wear very decontracted way, and you lose also the culture of what is a nice way of wearing, no? Until these times. So it's a very important historical moment from a society point of view, because there is a rediscovery from a younger wealthy clientele in their 30s of the pleasure of dressing well. That's why a sartorial business is booming, and you serve a younger and a less stiff elegance, if you want, where the black is not there anymore and the colors are more easy going. You probably don't wear a suit with a tie, even a shirt if you want. Sometimes it's a t-shirt, sometimes it's a polo, sometimes you don't wear the jacket but you have nice sartorial trousers. But anyhow, there's no rules, no? But there is an elegance that is built for yourself, so it's not for a season or two, it's not a fashion thing. You're expressing your own taste, you're expressing your own refinement, no? In a palette of colors which is much more natural, much more daily, and it's a pleasure of this rediscovering, like we rediscovered the beauty of mechanical watches 25 years ago, we are rediscovering the beauty of a nice masculine elegance. So you cannot put on the wrist of such a gentleman a watch with the aesthetic code of the last century. So we asked ourselves, what kind of watch are we going to give? And the answer was the Toric. So you see that this aesthetic is extremely young, it's extremely fresh, but extremely well designed and pure in the choices. And you also have the maximum expression of watchmaking content, because as you're interested in how your stitching of a suit is, how your cut is, all the tradition of tailoring that fits the body since always is coming back. You have to respect the tradition of watchmaking that is traditional, but it's not a cage in which you are stuck. It is a source of knowledge to bring you to an evolution. There are very important, indisputable things in this collection, and this is the first piece that you can imagine that the Toric will become a full-fledged collection with more movements in the future, etc. But we start from a most simple one, which is the Petite Seconde. First, only manually winded movements, because a manually winded movement is much more beautiful to admire. You don't have the rotor in front of how you design the bridges and how they're done. Only gold movements. So the gold is an important color of material because it's deep, it's in the flesh, the metal. So when you start decorating it, the light reflects with much more power, it's much more deep, And you can see that we have applied here a Côte de Fleurier design, which is a Côte de Genève done once, and then you do it in diagonal the second time, and you cross it in a way which is making a pattern, which is extremely beautiful to observe. You see that there are two barrels, because this comes from Michel's belief and what he learned from restoration. He learned that two barrels are very important to prolong the life of your mechanism. It's not for how much energy you store, but the fact that there are two, the barrels, they are releasing the energy in a more constant way. So the transmission, the wheels are less worn out, because they are moving in a more regular manner, and that postpones the moment in which you have to restore a watch. So you see that education, that culture of the part that is there. And then you see the colimaçonné finishing on the two barrels. You see the logo that is conveying the brand, which is applied like on a dial. This ellipse of gold with a PF inside is adding to the bridge a beautiful touch. And you have at 2 o'clock the signature of Michel, because all the gold movements of the company are signed by Michel's signature. You have to have a beautiful crown, which is generous in the dimension, because when you have a manual winded watch, you want to feel the pleasure of the mechanics, and you see how precise the mechanic is. There's no friction. It's something that
I have to say, I love this. I can't. I'm not interrupting you because I don't know what to say. This is like this is like learning. I don't know, from basics. I'm 30 years in the industry. No one, the last 30 years, has said something so. I don't find the words. He is a superstar. Incredible. Listen, guys, listen to what he has to say. Continue listening. Go. It's so good.
Luxury is a cultural exercise. It has never been a big business. It's become big recently, and that's why it's become mainstream. And everybody is asking, how did the fair go? That means, how were your orders? Well, that's not the right question. Were you able to create more desire? That's the right question to say. And you create desire by going deep in the things and by really understanding why you do things. So when you have these details that are sensorial expressions of mechanics, because you are living the mechanics in your fingers every morning. So this crown is in this dimension aesthetically, but also functionally and sensorially.
Can I just quickly interrupt you and tell a story I was telling in a television interview I did a couple of years ago? And the moderator of that show, there was a morning show on RTL television in Germany, who looked by entire Germany. And the moderator said, why are there mechanical hand-wound movements in contrary to automatic movements? And I said, the real connoisseur will love his hand-wound movement every morning, or when it is necessary to run. It is like if he would have sex with his watch. There's no more intimate and sensual moment you have with your watch when you wind it.
It is the moment in which you interact with it. Yes, of course.
That's. I know it sounds quite ordinary, but end of the day, that's what happens. And everybody was quoting me on this. Even newspapers took it. There was a guy saying this and this. But it's the truth. And you're repeating what mostly I was reducing to 3 letters, sex, but. That's what happens.
It's a tactical emotion that has to interact with the movement, and when you feel that it's flawless, it's a pleasure.
Yeah.
But this is
incredible.
The technical side, and it's important. But what is also important is what is the habillage. In French, habillage is a very important word because it is everything that dresses the movement. Yeah. I am very attached to this word because it underlines the mentality of a watchmaking. First you start from the movement and then you design the rest, and the rest is almost accessory, because habillage is something that you dress your body, and your body is the most important thing. But anyhow, this look is built first of all when you have to design the dial that goes along with this execution. You want it to be as pure as possible. You want to be consistent with the Tonda PF because you can see that the brand across the two collections, but it's not the same emotion that you want to generate. This is a sporty, elegant watch. This is a dress watch. This is much more versatile. You can go swimming in it. It's automatic. That's why the crown is small. You just open it only to set the time, and that's it. The rest, you don't need it. Here, it's a totally different experience. So we wanted to design a dial that was extremely clean, extremely pure, and that was also very refined. And we went back into looking at the dials in the history of watchmaking. In the 50s and 60s, there was a period in which you had these chevet dials. They were flat, and then they dropped to the outside in the minute scale. They were curved at the end of the surface.
Yep,
No? And we tried that, but it was very vintage as you look. So it was going back in time. It was not enough contemporary for this gentleman that I told you before. So we designed this curve in a way that you cut the surface with this outline that you have outside the flat surface. And then you have a curved minute scale on which you apply the indexes. A designer in watchmaking, you have 2-3 millimeters to express an idea. And there you have something that is happening, which is extremely interesting. And then I asked Michel, I need a texture which is not invasive to the eye. When you read a watch, you don't want to be disturbed by a background which is busy. I want something that is very pure, but still a texture that is extremely refined and gives you a sensation of quality. I didn't want a plain dial. And he said probably the grené-main is a technique that... Grené-main is a technique that I would see fitting this aesthetic. And I asked him, well, what is it? Well, because there are grenade dials in the industry, but today they are basically 9 out of 10 are done by laser, because it's much easier to design a surface with a machine, but this is taking out the emotion, it's taking out the craft. So I asked him, what is a grené-main? And it was so funny. He came back with his book that he has. It comes from the 19th century. He's opened the pages, all written with his notes and etc. And he starts explaining to me. Basically, you have a surface which is gold, because the dial is in gold. And you have to create a granular surface to reflect the light in a way which is a little bit matte. So you don't want brightness on the color. And so you make a sort of cream, which is done by cream of tartar, sea salt, is done with powder of silver, and is done with distilled water. You put all this together.
Can you just repeat that once again for those who didn't get it?
Tartar cream.
Tartar cream.
Powder of silver.
Yeah.
Sea salt.
Sea salt.
And distilled water. The proportions is a secret recipe of
Yeah.
Michel.
It's
so
just about the ingredients.
And then you create this sort of paste, which has these elements that were a little bit abrasive. And then you have a brushing. The thickness of the brush is important. The more thick the brush is, the more small are the grains that you will place on the surface. And you start brushing circularly the material, the surface. Then once you're happy with what you get, you deposit the color. And this is done through PVD, so it's a physical vapor deposit of a color that we chose. Of course, we choose a palette which are very modern, very serene, like this beautiful celadon gray, which is a green with a bit of gray in it, that is extremely beautiful with the platinum. And then the most difficult thing afterwards is to make the gold come back out. Because once you did this treatment, the surface of the dial is completely covered, and then you have to make the outline come out again. So this circle that you see outside has to be done through polishing, and without peeling off the treatment from the front of the dial, you have to make this outline come out because it's a gold beneath the treatment that you did. The same thing you have to do in the counter. The same thing you have to do in the small 4 markers for the seconds. So you drill the material, and underneath you have the gold, and that's your marker. So it's a balance of elements which are never in your eye, is details that you find out wearing, but they're done in an exquisite manner. And then when you get to the bracelet, what you put on, it's a Nabook treatment bracelet. It's a very delicate one, but as it's delicate, every beautiful thing you have to treat it with care. And you have this reference to sartorialism, which is this
stitching.
Napolitan stitching. You see it in my suit, which is a Naples suit. This is a technique that comes from Naples that allows you to have the cloth which is very soft and keep the cloth together. And it's a nice aesthetic detail. And then last but not least, everybody sells, watches in a way, oh, I have such an expensive watch, I need the most expensive buckle, I need a deployment buckle. No, you don't. Because when you put such a beautiful work in the back of your movement, you don't want to see it with a blade between your eyes. So that is a moment in which you have to take out too much, go back to your Ardillon strap, because it fits well with this concept of watch.
Of course it does.
So we did it in 2 metals. So one is in platinum and one is pink gold. That is the father of the collection. These colors fit with every outfit. They can be fitting a brown beautifully. Also this.
Can go with
they
blue.
can go with blue.
Yeah.
No? So
Black.
it's everything.
This is simply stunning.
And it's fresh. It's breaking the codes of masculine elegance on the wrist, because everybody's talking about these 4 centimeters, no? But these 4 centimeters are part of a bigger thing, and you are the bigger thing. So a lot of people are saying, totalizing the watch as the only thing that you have to care about. Those people are carried by the watches that they're wearing. But the watch is an accessory. And I don't want to dilute all the industrial industry, but the watch has to fit in your context. You are the persona. You are wearing your watch. You are making it live on your wrist. And the watch is completing you. It's not you that are becoming complete because you have a watch which everybody wants. Once you realize that it's not the judgment of others that is making the beauty of your choice, but it's pleasing yourself, that's when you abandon the usual suspects and you start doing personal choices. That's why we took out the logo in writing from our dial, because it's a private choice. Parmigiani. You come to Parmigiani when you already did your choices. You're not showcasing your wealth, you're showcasing your education, your refinement. So that's what we are trying to do. And I think there is an audience which is not an important audience in terms of numbers, because we are not a big brand in terms of how many watches we have to sell. We are really pleasing a frontier of people who understand what the beauty of living is.
I could continue listening to you all day. This is, I don't know, guys, what you are saying. If you're still in the video and you have not skipped it now, this is incredible, because it's after my 30 years in the industry, really, you have been resuming, or you've been saying everything that is beautiful, nice, correct, how it should be done, how it was abused meanwhile by styles you shouldn't see, by things that shouldn't be done. It's incredible. And everything you said is true. You are Parmigiani, you are not a big brand, you are a niche brand, and especially the last words. You have made your choice, you're not demonstrating. I love it. Guido, with such watches, I can tell you make the industry look older. Yeah, you do. But it's not the end yet, because it's a collection, I assume, and not only 2 watches. It's a collection. And on our tray is also the chronograph that is part of that collection, Toric collection.
To give you an idea, it's not just 2 watches that we're launching, but it's a collection that will evolve. We have the chance to have one of the most beautiful chronographs in the industry of watchmaking, which is the split-second chronograph, high frequency, 5 hertz, double column wheel, which is in gold, manually winded, so it fits in perfectly the philosophy.
Again, a movement in gold.
Exactly, with bridges done exquisitely. You see these englagements that are phenomenal. So Michel did a masterpiece in this movement that won in 2017 Geneva Grand Prix. Here we chose a color which is a little bit darker, but not too dark, so it's a natural amber. You see the case, which has been redesigned. There is a reference to the original Toric, where it was born, that has a wider part of the case outside the bezel, and this is also on the Petite Seconde that we saw just before, because it gives you a softness of the case, it gives you a way to counterbalance the nurdle bezel, which is the signature of the case of the Toric, and everything is very well balanced. We even had the nice detail of doing the elliptical push buttons, that you know how the ellipse is important for the brand, and it's a reference to Parmigiani's golden ratio, and that is a beautiful limited edition of 30 pieces that 30 lucky owners will have the chance to wear.
So the chronograph is limited,
Yep.
but the small second watch is not limited.
No, it's
by production.
By production is not important. We are going to produce around 200 watches this year combined, the 2 references
the
combined.
Toric collection, 200 pieces.
This year, plus
Okay.
30
Yeah,
in limited
yeah.
edition. And then we will see the acceptance, and we will see for sure. I accept a little bit of waiting list, but it's not a watch for everyone. So important thing, I think nobody needs another watch, you know, but when you do launch a watch, you have to have something to say. And I think we did have something to say with this beautiful collection.
This was 25, 30 minutes, I assume, or something like this, of just wow. Just
So
wow. I can't say more than this.
We have to have people falling in love with what we do. Otherwise, they don't buy.
Buying means how much will you have to spend on these watches if you want to get
Well,
one?
you saw the value that we put in, so it's a very important cost to do this watch. So the price point of the Petite Seconde starts from 45,000 Swiss francs in pink gold,
In pink gold.
in 52,000 in platinum, and it goes to 135,000 on the Rattrapante chronograph.
Limited to
Limited to 30 pieces.
30 pieces. 135,000 Swiss francs,
Yes.
including taxes, all prices including taxes.
Yes.
Yeah. This needs some understanding, of course. This is not something you just spend because you just see, okay, nice watch, I buy it. You have to understand the philosophy behind and everything.
Yeah.
And I think, guys, you have been watching a video never done on Watchadvisor before. Thank you, Guido, for this lesson. It was a lesson, and we've learned a lot. And I had goosebumps listening to him because everything is so true what he says, and everything is so right. And when you once come here, then I would say you really understand watchmaking and what made this industry what it is today, and what you're bringing back with your style, with your input, and what you have been doing to Parmigiani.
Thank you,
Guido
Alex.
Terreni, the CEO of Parmigiani, bringing us a lesson in style, a lesson in history, a lesson in many more things. Continue what you are doing. I can't wait to see your next projects because they will be at least as thrilling as the revival of the Toric.
That's what we try to do. So I'm glad you liked it.
Liked it? I'm speechless almost. Thanks for watching. This is the difference to maybe other channels. We are really going in deep when we are talking about watchmaking. Even if though we were talking about dressing and tuxedos and many more things, the watches are the stars, and at the end of the day you see what comes out if watches are the stars and there's a person behind, and this was Guido Terreni. Thanks for watching this video. Comments are very welcome. Write, no, not write, type. Right. I'm now conservative. You can also write me a letter if you want, but type these comments into your computer or your smartphones, and I will read them, and if I can't answer, I will pass them to Guido and he will answer. So we will be in contact again. Thank you, Guido.
Thank you, Alex.
Watchadvisor is the channel you have to go to.